Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Danny and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi de hi ho de ho.
I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And this is Watching My Stories.
It is.
And do you want to explain to people what that's from?
Nope.
Okay.
It's just my new thing.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Okay. So we are back. We were off last week. It was unplanned. Unfortunately, our dog, about a week and a half ago, got vertigo, or I guess what it's called in dogs, vestibular disease. And it's been a rough week and a half. So we just it was a very stressful weekend last weekend and weren't able to record. But she is getting better, much better.
Yes.
And we're happy about that. And so I have now 2 weeks worth of things to talk about. It's going to be a lot. I'm going to rush through a lot of things. We're going to maybe talk more about other things. And then at the end for the Actors Studio, we chose Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
And not sure why, except that he happens to be in both of our favorite movies.
All-time favorite movies,
it makes sense. Okay, so let's get going.
Okay.
First big movie I'm going to talk about, I just saw this morning, is Us.
Yes. You haven't said a word about it, so very interested.
Well, yeah. So everyone knows this is Jordan Peele's second film after Get Out. He wrote, produced, and directed this, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. Winston Duke is M'Baku in Black Panther. And she was in Black Panther. So, Anyway, I've been trying to figure out, like, how much do I talk about this, and how much do I keep a secret? So first thing I'm going to say, 5 stars.
Okay.
It's, what I realized while I was sitting there watching this is this and Get Out, his storytelling reminds me of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
In the way of he comes up with this lore. Remember when I was talking about night stuff? That was the word I used to express how he tells stories. He comes up with this lore story and makes it like almost part of our history type thing, And I feel like Jordan's doing the same thing in his films, only he's using real world and real social issues and real social fears to then kind of weave in this kind of lore tale and teach a little bit too. So in this movie, everyone's seen the trailer. There's copies, basically. In the movie, we learn they're called the Tethered. That's what they call themselves. And these copies come after this family, Lupita and Winston's family, and their son and daughter. And I feel like if I say anything else, I give everything away.
Don't say anything else.
But as soon as they show up, we hear the story and we know what's going on now, for the most part.
Okay.
And I just loved it. Like, as soon as she started telling the story, I sat up in my chair and I was bright. Oh, tell me this. Tell me what's happening here. And it was very, it's not scary. It's kind of those same things of Quiet Place and Get Out and those things that are called horror movies. And then they really aren't. They're just suspenseful, stressful. Even this one I didn't feel like was that. Because I think I knew the story so much going in, I just wanted to figure out. But here's what I love about the direction, and this is what I always think, I know it's good direction. When someone is walking through a house or a building or something, and we're behind them and we're coming to a corner, when I start moving my head so I can look around the corner before the camera lets me, that's when I know I'm in it and the director is doing the right thing.
You have fully bought in.
Yeah, because he's not showing it to me yet, and I want to see what is around the corner. And I was doing that the whole time, and it was really good. Also, Elizabeth Moss is in this, and want to feel old for a second. There are twins. Elizabeth Moss has twin daughters in it. The twins are the twins who played the baby Emma on Friends.
Oh, wow.
And they are now like 16, 17, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Well, that's life.
Yeah, people grow up, really?
Yeah, turns out.
It's a great story. There are a lot of underlying social issues that are addressed, and it's done in a way where you're not thinking that entirely when you're watching it. There were a couple times where I was just like, oh yeah, ping, but then it's like afterwards, and when I really think about it and I focus on that, it's like, oh God, how smart is that to come up with, such a statement in a way that in a way that's this entertaining and this wonderful. It happened last year with A Quiet Place coming out in April, and Emily Blunt putting in the best performance, in my opinion, of the year, and of course didn't get recognized. If Lupita doesn't get recognized this year, I will be so pissed again because she is phenomenal on both sides, being the what we assume is whatever we want to call it, the untethered, and then being the tethered. She's phenomenal. Amazing. I mean, I was smiling so much of the time at her just doing such a good job. And also what I love too is, again, with Jordan writing something, but making it, we're in Get Out, the villain was Allison Williams and the woman basically, whatever, but turning the tables on this one where it is so female centric, because Winston Duke, the father, the husband, he basically gets injured right in the beginning. And so he can't really run after people and can't really protect his family. So she's doing it all. So I also really loved that too, that, we were watching. Then again, there were times where I was just like, why is she going off and not waiting or something? But we find out why later on. But yeah, so good.
Good.
You will like it.
Okay.
You will be able to watch this. I wouldn't tell you it wasn't scary if it wasn't scary.
Okay.
Because I know you hate scary movies.
I do. I'm a big baby.
Yeah. So I will like watching it with you. I think it's great. It's original and fresh, and that's what we need, right? I mean, look, I love all the Marvel movies and all that stuff, but this is true originality, and I don't know where he came up with it.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, and I'm psyched now to see his twist on Twilight Zone. It's coming out in a few weeks.
Yep.
It's on CBS All Access, so you have to pay for it. But I'm willing to, because it looks like it's going to be a really good little twist on it all.
That's why they made that decision.
Yeah, exactly. So that's us. It's in theaters now. 5 stars. Definitely worth it.
Okay.
Next movie is one I watched last night. It just came out on Netflix yesterday, called The Highwaymen.
Yes.
This is starring Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson.
Yep.
There's a bunch of Kathy Bates is in it, and what's his name? Carol Lynch, John Carroll Lynch. A bunch of people. Anyway, so this is the true story of the Highwaymen who took down Bonnie and Clyde. So Bonnie and Clyde had been on their murderous and thieving rampage for a couple of years. And what was her name? Ma Robertson? The governor of Texas. She had disbanded the Texas Rangers, and then she decided it was okay to bring back a couple of them to try and help get Bonnie and Clyde. They just couldn't get them. So the two, Kevin Costner plays, what's his last name? Hamey, and the other ones, I can't remember their names. Anyway, I'm the type of person where I just stop a movie and I start Googling and Wikipediaing and all that stuff. So I did that within the first 15 minutes of this movie to learn about all of them. And to read the story too, so then I could see how the movie maybe fictionalized some things or, took the artistic license. Anyway, I do that with true stories.
It's just what she does.
It is. But anyway, the movie stuck really well to it. And so these guys, they basically kind of figured out the pattern that Bonnie and Clyde were riding in. and they just started driving around and sleeping in their car, trying to catch up to them. Basically, Bonnie and Clyde would travel in the circle, and so I think it actually took like 4 or 5 months for them to finally, when they killed them. But at that point, they were in Louisiana when they finally got them, and enlisted local sheriff and stuff. And the governor of Texas also had some other people in Texas working on it. Anyway, they lured them to the point where they finally got them and were able to kill them. And it was known that Clyde was never gonna surrender, so they knew they were gonna have to kill him. There was no other way to take him down. All of these men had real problems knowing that they were probably gonna have to kill Bonnie as well and kill a woman. They had never done such a thing. But this guy Hamey that Kevin Costner plays, at the end, it said that he was the most celebrated Texas Ranger of all time, and he's a pretty big deal, I guess. They were very involved in the early 1900s of Texas and all of that. So it was really interesting. So I have never seen the Bonnie and Clyde movie with, is it Warren Beatty?
Think so.
And Faye Dunaway?
Something like that.
I've never seen it, but I've seen the ending. And the ending was always, they were outside of their cars, and the slow-mo of the little speed gun thing, whatever they were called, and slowly they were getting massacred, like standing outside of their cars. That's not how it happened at all. And after this, they show all the real photos of the car, and so Bonnie and Clyde never got out of the car. They just kind of ambushed the car and just blew it to bits. And each one of them, I think, had like over 50 bullets and bullet holes in them, and they show it a little bit in the movie, but it was a bigger deal in real life that they then had to tow the car back to a town with the bodies still in it. And the crowds, because the people loved Bonnie and Clyde. They kind of considered them to be
modern day Robin Hood, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were stealing from banks, and this was in the 30s, early 30s. So many people were poor.
Right after the Depression.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just thought they were great for stealing from all these people. But they weren't distributing their wealth.
Right.
They were using it for their families.
And they were killing people.
They were killing really senselessly, killing law enforcement. They held nothing back. They would walk up to a cop and just shoot him and kill him.
Didn't they end up killing like a kid, a child?
Here's what I liked about this movie is they didn't focus on Bonnie and Clyde. Like, we never even saw the actors' faces until the moment before they started killing them. So they had kind of already done all this, and they kind of swept over, like, oh yeah, they killed this person. And this was only in this 4-month time where they did do some killings. And so as they were hunting them, they showed us those things, but we didn't see like everything. But yeah, one of the cops they killed was very young and was engaged, and like his fiance showed up to the funeral in her wedding dress and stuff. And but that story was tried to counterbalance the affection that everyone had for Bonnie and Clyde. So as they were towing this car back into town, crowds were gathering around the car, and they started diving into the car to like take pieces of hair, take pieces of clothing off of these dead bodies. People were going crazy wanting to just get pieces of these people. Really weird. But back then,
society's been screwed up for a long time.
Yeah. But back then, remember, we used to tour dead bodies. Remember when Jesse James was killed? Yeah. We toured his body around the country.
Prop him up and you can get a picture with him.
Exactly. So, it's, we're all kind of screwed up here. But anyway.
And now we have Twitter.
God. Yeah. Can we just go back? I'd rather go back. So anyway, I thought I was literally going to start this movie and turn it off. I thought it was something I was just going to try and turn it off. I got sucked into it. And look, Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson together, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really now wishing I had watched it with you.
Yeah, you'd like it. And I'll watch it again, actually. That's kind of how into it I was. And these are both, they're supposed to be playing guys that, hadn't been out in a while. They had been retired. And so they're just these old kind of grustly, grubby guys, whatever.
Sure.
And it worked. And they're good. And there's still those smart guys. You know, Kevin Costner's always that guy that you know he's just super smart and he doesn't have to say a word. You know what I mean? And so it's just perfect casting on both sides. And so I really liked it. It's on Netflix.
Cool.
Definitely worth it. Great story, because again, I think that glorifying of Bonnie and Clyde needs to stop. And let's look at the other side of it. So so I thought that was really good.
Very cool. Thank you.
The Highwaymen on Netflix. Next, we're going to talk about another Netflix movie that we watched the week before.
What?
The Dirt. The movie about Motley Crue.
Right.
Which is based off of, all four of them have written their own books. And this movie was they wrote it basically based off of all these books and kind of told stories of all four of them.
Right.
You go first.
Oh, boy. I was really wanting to see this when I first heard about it. And it turns out it was way more about the debauchery. And, I mean, look, their bad behavior was legendary. In like a period of 4 or 5 years, they pretty much raised the bar for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I wanted to like it so much. I ended up not really liking the movie. There were bits that I really liked because they were parts that I knew about, and I just kind of wanted to see it. It was a little bit nostalgic.
Okay.
But in a way too over the top, just senseless, gratuitous stuff. And it didn't tell us. Look, we knew that stuff. We knew all about that stuff. We didn't need to see that.
I didn't know that Vince Neil's kid died. Like
that's
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they spent 5 minutes on it, so yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, we're going to get to know a little bit more about Mick Mars. Nope, not a thing.
I don't think there's much more to know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Right? But, they spent all their time talking, F this and F that and screw this. Like, literally, screw this.
So, first thing I'll say is the casting was amazing.
Oh, my God, yeah.
That was, again, it wasn't as good as, like, Bohemian Rhapsody, where I forgot there were actors in place, but these guys did really good job, and the costumes and the hair made it, because it added to these good guys that were cast in the roles, and all of a sudden I remembered that outfit and that hairstyle and the makeup and stuff. So that was amazing. Other than that, so the guy who directed this directed like all the Jackass movies. So and what it felt like was I'm just going to say, it felt like it was this dude who had grown up admiring and idolizing these guys and their behavior. And so he's like, I'm going to do this tribute film to these rock gods and all their debauchery, because that's what I wish I had lived my whole life. That's what it felt like. Yeah. Like an 8-year-old had kind of said, oh, yeah, they did this and then they did that. And oh, it's awesome. Right. And that was it. There was no heart at all.
Not really, no. Yeah.
No heart.
Now that you explain it the way you just did, that's perfect. Yeah. That's exactly it. It's like sending a 12-year-old to the grocery store to do grocery shopping. Yeah. It's going to come back with Cap'n Crunch. That's it.
Yeah. Right? And this is just a super fan who wanted to be them. Mm-hmm. And so he made this movie and gave us no soul of these guys, no real heart of these guys. Yeah. Even the moment after Vince Neil had lost his kid and they wanted to get back together and they meet up with him and they're trying, like, oh, we're brothers. I never felt the connection. I never felt like any of them cared about any of each other. And we're talking to someone who, I knew them. I knew their music that was on the radio. I was never truly a fan of theirs. There were other bands that I loved way, way more than them. Mm-hmm. So I never really paid attention to any of these stories, but as I'm watching, I'm just like, I can't believe they stuck together. Like, why? Because it never felt like they gave a crap about each other. Right. And so that's what I was missing. I just never felt that there was a point. There was not even like, oh, I learned a lesson. Even when they got sober, they were like mad that they were sober and they were bored. And, so it was just like, what are we learning here? What are we learning about anyone? Except that how to be disgusting with Ozzy Osbourne, apparently. So that, did I need to know that story about any of them? No.
Nope.
No.
No.
I'm sure it's in their books, and so for fans, they learned. But other than that, I skip it.
Yeah, I give it 2 stars.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would even give it that.
Well, I give it 2 stars because the music was nostalgic, and the actors.
Actors were good. The Tommy Lee guy was great.
He was great. I thought the guy playing Nikki Sixx really did a great job.
Yes.
It was very believable, and from a distance...
He looked like him. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it was really good casting. Jerk.
I mean, again, it's just... I honestly had no clue Nikki Sixx was such a jerk. Like,
yeah.
I just... Because I never really paid attention.
I guess, thinking back to that time, I knew it, but yeah, it was a refresher that... Oh, yeah, that guy was really that big a dick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. There you have it. That's the dirt on Netflix.
No
it's up to you.
No need to watch it again.
Yeah. If you're a super fan and you idolize them, then I think those people would probably like it. But I just, I'm sure there are a lot of dudes out there that are just like, oh, that was awesome. But whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll hope not.
We're going to move on to television now.
Okay.
Quickly, I'm going to go through a lot of these things quickly.
Okay.
So Arrested Development came back onto Netflix. This was the second half of the 5th season. I don't think we know if there's going to be any more. And honestly, they kind of wrapped it up really nice, in my opinion. But you don't get a show that's been around. So we've had 5 seasons, I think in 17 years, something like that.
That's it?
Yeah. So, they were on for 3 on network, and then they did the 1 on Netflix, and now, so it's a fun show. It's a funny show.
Mm-hmm.
The second half was on par with everything else.
Right.
That's all I can really say. If you're a fan, you know it. If you're not, go back and watch it. It's worth it.
See, here's the thing about that show. I like everybody involved, but there's just something about that show. I've tried to watch it, and it's like,
yeah, you're dead inside.
Well, that's partially true, but yeah, it's just my TV viewing time is so limited. I tend to, be more selective.
Yes. Anyway, okay, so that's Arrested Development. I say go to Netflix, watch all the seasons. It's just fun.
Okay.
Second show is Catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Amazon. It's actually an English show. The 4th and final season came out 2 weeks ago. Very sad, but this is one of the best shows ever. If you haven't watched any of it, go on Amazon Prime and watch all 4 seasons. There's only 6 episodes a season. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. The creators and stars are Sharon Horgan and Rob Delaney. They meet he travels to London for a week for work.
Mm-hmm.
They have sex all week. They meet in a bar, sex all week. And he goes home, and then she calls a few months later and says, hey, I'm pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so that's the start of the show. And that's the whole story of the show, is him going back. They eventually get married. They have another kid. And it's about them. It's not about the family. It's not about raising kids even. It's really about 2 people in a relationship. They have some funny friends. And... it's the ups and downs. He's an alcoholic. So he does have some relapses. Carrie Fisher was his mom. So in this last season, they actually did kill her off, and that was really amazing. And it's just, what does it mean to love another person? How do you stick around when things get hard? When things are fun, you definitely, the friendship between the 2. Mm-hmm. It's just wonderful, but it's really funny. And it's got so much English humor, but then Rob Delaney's American. So it's both, it's just wonderful. Right. It's really, really good. And it ended really well. I loved it.
Okay.
So, that's Catastrophe on Amazon. Very easy watch, because it's only half-hour episodes. And like I said, only 6 episodes a season.
Okay.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
Next is a documentary on HBO called The Inventor, Out for Blood, which is the story of Elizabeth Holmes, who founded and created the company Theranos.
Yep.
So we both did watch this one.
Yes, I watched it with you.
And Yeah, so I'm just going to say there is a podcast called The Dropout about Elizabeth Holmes and this whole Theranos debacle. I think the podcast was much better than this 2-hour documentary. And the podcast is only 6 episodes, but they dive into Elizabeth Holmes herself a lot more deeply than the documentary kind of had to talk about the company and the product and then what happened and now how they're all in trouble.
Yeah, the documentary was as much about Theranos as it was about her.
Right, exactly, which wasn't much about her. And I think diving into who she is and possibly trying to figure out who she is, to me, is more important than,
Good luck with that. I mean, she's just an odd character.
She is. So Theranos, I would think most people have heard of this whole thing. She had founded this company 17, 18 years ago, something like that. She was only like 19. She had this idea that instead of having to take tubes of blood in order to run tests and figure things out, you could do it with a finger prick and 1 drop of blood. You could stick into a machine the size of a printer and get like all your vitals and all your tests run and all that sort of thing, which everyone says is absolutely impossible and would never and could never work. She raised $300 million?
$900 million.
Yeah. Dollars, ran through it, never got a working prototype, but no one ever knew that. She eventually, everything was a secret. Everything was crazy. Anyway, she had fooled CVS or Walgreens. What's the Walgreens?
Walgreens.
Telling them she was going to get all these machines in there.
Yeah, they signed a big deal with her.
Yeah.
That's where another chunk of the money came from.
So it all ended up blowing up, obviously, and basically because an employee finally left and called paper and started whistleblowing.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
And so and another employee also did whistleblow to the FAA or FDA or one of those. I don't remember. I guess
she tried
the FAA.
She tried the FAA, but that didn't work.
I guess that wouldn't matter. So anyway. It's very interesting. She's still pending trial, I think, even right now. So things are still very up in the air as to what's going to happen with her. But it's interesting, and the characters in it are very interesting. The other guy, Sonny, who was her boyfriend for a long time and gave the company a lot of money, he's very interesting. All of the people that gave her money, you can see she met with every celebrity. She was with every president. She was with everything. I mean, this chick took everyone for a ride.
Yes.
And it's just an interesting story.
Yes.
Yeah. So the documentary is good because you do get to see the visual. You get to see what they thought the product was going to be. And a lot of ex-employees talk. And when you hear about the culture of this company and how the secrets and all the different sort of things, it's insane. And when you think you've had bad jobs, and look, I've been in the tech industry and I've had weird, strange companies and all that sort of stuff. Again, it's always that thing of how bad do you need that paycheck? And a lot of people need it. And a lot of people did also believe in what they were trying to do.
They wanted to be part of that big thing, right?
You buy into it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't catch the podcast that you did. So I don't have any kind of frame of reference for it. But this was kind of a very average or maybe a slightly above average documentary. Yeah. It told a good story.
Yeah.
You got to see all the issues.
Yeah, it's a full story, I believe. But I do think there should be a follow-up after everyone's been
I can't believe that
and
they haven't gone to trial yet or whatever.
People with money, they can,
Well, she doesn't have any. That's the thing. That she ran out of money. They ran out of money. So I don't understand how they're putting it off if they are.
I don't know. But it's worth it. So this is called The Inventor on HBO. The podcast is called The Dropout because she dropped out of Stanford after her first year.
Yep.
So that's that.
Okay.
Next is a Netflix docuseries called The Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. This is 8 episodes, all talking about the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. If you guys don't remember, it was back in 2007 when a little 3-year-old girl, Maddie McCann, and her family were in Portugal on holiday. And she was abducted out of her bed at night while her parents were at dinner in a restaurant just down the street. So this is 8 hours. It's really in depth. It's great because it kind of starts out, who abducted, and then it kind of turns on the parents, because that's what the Portuguese police did, was they turned on the parents and started accusing them. And it goes all the way into then the problem of child trafficking and the broader kind of global issues that we're dealing with as far as children being abducted and that sort of thing.
Did she have a babysitter?
No. So yeah, if you don't remember, there was a group of I want to say like 4 or 5 couples, and they all left their children. So this place where they were staying was just like a bunch of apartments, and then there was like a little tapas restaurant across the pool. It was like all connected or whatever. And so all these parents had left their kids in bed, and they just kind of walked down to the restaurant, and then all the parents, like every half hour or something, would get up and go and check on all the kids. All the doors were unlocked, and all those sorts of things.
So they made all the mistakes that people make when something bad happens.
And like they were saying, and again, these are all European parents. They were all saying, this is what we do, and everyone that we know does this, and that sort of thing. And they could, they were within vision. They could see the windows of the apartment where their kids were, and just kind of thinking that
Sure.
was okay. And you want to judge people, but I just don't. I don't feel like that's.
I'm not judging. That's not really the an important piece of the story.
It's not, because when you think of anything, Adam Walsh, I think that was in Sears or something like that. His mom turned his back or whatever, and he's gone. It's like it happens. It happens every day, whether you're holding your kid's hand or not. And so that's not the point. But yeah, the point is that we still haven't found her, and there haven't been any sort of anything. I mean, that night there are people who said they saw a man carrying a little girl in various parts of that town throughout streets and stuff, which is weird because it would have been late at night. But that's kind of as far as it goes, and no one's really sure. So there are people that are constantly on the dark web and looking at all those horrible sites where these
bad people go to look at those.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it's a really, really, really insightful documentary. It goes really deep, deeper than I've heard anything. The parents do not participate, but there are so many clips of them that you do see them and hear from them. But friends do, and police do, and all that sort of stuff.
And the parents have been cleared?
The parents technically have been cleared, yes. By the Portuguese people. I think there's a lot of people who still think they did it. I've never thought that because it just didn't make any sense. But you can watch and come to your own conclusion. So that's The Disappearance of Madeleine McCann on Netflix.
Okay.
Next Netflix special is Amy Schumer's latest stand-up called Growing.
Yep.
So we did both watch this.
Yep.
And she's pregnant on this special. And I'm a super huge fan of hers. And this didn't disappoint. Oh my God. It was almost funnier because, when you're dealing with someone who has never held back anything, and now you add on top of it, she's pregnant. It's just like, it's just funny.
She has literally a built-in excuse for getting away with anything right now. And or then.
Yeah.
But it's, so I'm not a super fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And it was very good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot, and it's one of those that I do want to watch again because, you watch it and you laugh and then you go, wait, what was so funny? So I want to go back and just remember some stuff. And
this one is a little bit different to me, in that her humor in this one, I think, was much more clever than a lot of her previous stand-ups were just raunchy and good,
punchlining,
good raunchy humor,
right?
And this had plenty of bad stuff in it. It was just very clever. she had a lot of jokes that took you a second to really get it, and it was really funny.
Yeah, and I think the title is apropos, called Growing, because I think most people think she's growing because she's pregnant, but I think it shows, her shtick before was about being a single girl, and the jokes of just screwing everyone and getting drunk all the time, that was her thing. And now she's married and pregnant, and so her humor has to change, her jokes have to change, because you can't talk about that stuff anymore. So she used to come out with a bottle of water, but wine, and people just thought she was drinking during her whole set. Now things do have to change because she's growing up. And so it's very funny, though, to make that change, to be able to do that is a big deal.
Yes.
When you are pigeonholed into one type of comic, and to come out on top, and she directed this special herself, which is also pretty big. So it's really good, and she's just funny.
Yeah,
there's no denying it.
Catch it, you'll like it. If you like her at all,
right,
you'll really like this.
And if you didn't like that stuff before, if you didn't understand the single girl comedy, you might still question this a little bit, but it really is more about being married, spending your life with someone, and being pregnant. But she's not the type, and she makes jokes about it. I'm not like, oh, I'm so precious because I'm pregnant. She's like, that's not at all the truth, So it's a lot more down to earth. And I think more women might appeal to her now than they did before, if they were trying to pretend that they didn't understand her humor before, which you did.
Well, they did. They're proper. They can't talk about it.
Exactly. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a Netflix show that came out yesterday, Santa Clarita Diet.
Thank God for Netflix. Holy smokes.
I know. Seriously. This is the third season of the Santa Clarita Diet, which is Drew Barrymore and Timothy Olyphant. And I always assume that's how you pronounce it. Did I get it wrong?
I think it's Oliphant.
Oliphant?
Oliphant.
Oliphant? You just said it twice, two different ways.
Oliphant. Timothy Olyphant.
Anyway, love him, always have. Don't care what his name is. So anyway, this show is one of my absolute favorites. I watched the whole season yesterday. It's so funny. It's so joyful. And it seems like it wouldn't, because she becomes an undead person. They don't really use the term zombie. That's what happens in the very first episode. And we have just gone along on this ride between this couple. So they also have a daughter, and the daughter has a best friend next door that helps them in this path to figuring out what's going on. So the whole second season was devoted to that, figuring out what caused this.
So that boy is the next door neighbor?
Yes.
Oh my God, that kid is hysterical.
He's hysterical. He's so good. So in the second season, we figured out what caused everything. And what I love about this show is that the two of them being married, they were super in love before this happened to them, but they had gotten into a funk, and she was in a funk. And when she became undead, she brightened up and, had all this energy and all this sort of stuff. And he has just stuck with it. And the two of them constantly loving each other so strongly that he's willing to kill people. He's willing to watch her eat people's ears and fingers every day. Like all that sort of stuff that grosses him out. But then he loves her so much, and she loves him so much. And it's absolutely, like, you love to watch them. I love the interaction with the daughter. She's fantastic and just a badass girl. And it's funny because it's such a crazy situation, right? So it's so different than Walking Dead or something where it's a serious, like, oh my God. It's a funny situation. It's just like any other sort of situational comedy where you're put in a strange sort of circumstance. And so it's just, hilarity ensues. Right. That's exactly what happens here. Only we're watching this really great couple stick together through all of this and figure out how their new normal. I mean, that's really what they're trying to do. Right. So it was another great season. There are 10 episodes every season. They're a half hour. And it's just funny. I mean, I laugh out loud. And
yes, you do.
It's just And Drew Barrymore's just so good. It's really Timothy. He just has the best facial expressions and like little comments that he says to, again, being in such a strange, situation. So it's perfect. I love it.
See, for me, that's where real humor is. Anybody can bust off a joke or, whatever, but it's the subtle stuff. It's the facial expressions. Mm-hmm. It's the little dry, comebacks. Right. Those sorts of things are what makes, to me, comedy.
That's why I wanted you to watch this, but you didn't like it. Well, so. But anyway, it's on Netflix. Santa Clarita Diet, 3 seasons. It's fantastic. It's so funny. Please, please, please check it out because I want a 4th season, especially with the way they left it. Have to have a 4th season. Okay, so the next things I want to talk about are just a one-offer, not talking about whole seasons. The newest show on Hulu is called The Act. It's with Patricia Arquette and the girl is Joey King. This is the true story of Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard, which, if people don't remember, Gypsy Rose was like this little girl in a wheelchair, and they were like... They were famous because she was so sick, and so Dee Dee would cart her to all the talk shows and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, turns out Dee Dee had Munchausen's by proxy, meaning she faked that her daughter was sick so that she could get all this attention. There's a great documentary. I know it's on Hulu. It's probably on Netflix as well, called Mommy, Dead and Dearest, because eventually Gypsy Rose killed her mother because... She was in her 20s and Dee Dee was trying to pass her off as a teenager and, all this sort of stuff. So it went crazy. Anyway, it's a great documentary to see what was going on. And Gypsy Rose, who's now in prison, talks on the documentary, and she loves prison more than she loved her life with her mother. So she's happy. Yeah,
I'm sure.
So anyway, so now this show, there's also, I believe, a movie coming out as well that's going to have Marcia Gay Harden playing Dee Dee. But this one is Patricia Arquette. It's called The Act. There's 3 episodes so far, and they're just releasing 1 episode a week. So I just wanted to put it out there if people want to start watching it. Joey King's doing a really good job of playing Gypsy Rose. She had like this very high pitched voice, and it's a crazy story. It's an absolute crazy. Chloe Sevigny is in the show as well.
All right.
So anyway, it's really good so far. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
Yeah. Second show that just started is Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists. This is like a spin-off of Pretty Little Liars. I just wanted to talk about it quickly because I loved Pretty Little Liars, and I'm actually thinking of going back and rewatching the whole series. So The Perfectionists, there's been 2 episodes so far. It's not holding up yet for me, but that also could be just because I'm biased because I love the original so much. But I'll bet like the younger people who should be watching this show are probably loving it. But it's the first one was such a mystery, and it was actually creepy, and it was really well done. So I fell in love with that, and this one just isn't that yet. But they're trying to keep up the same, and there's a couple original cast members that are on it. But so I just want to point that out. It's on Freeform, and if you loved Pretty Little Liars, I'd love to hear what other people are thinking. But again, if you're 20, it probably doesn't make any difference. The next show I want to talk about quickly is Whiskey Cavalier. I really want to love this show. So it's with TV Scott Foley and Lauren Cohen, who was on Walking Dead, and the other kid that was on Walking Dead. No, I can't think of his name. Everybody Hates Chris. Yeah, that kid. Anyway, and what's his face from Cougar Town? Josh Hopkins is on. So Bill Lawrence is one of the creators or producers of this show. So Bill Lawrence, of course, have brought his crew. Yeah, Josh Hopkins and TV Scott Foley and stuff. So I want to love this show because what they promised me was kind of a throwback to like the Moonlighting and that Heart to Heart and those 80s shows where it's like, they're fighting crime, but it's light and humorous and all that. So I want to love this show, and I now have 2 on my DVR that I haven't gotten to yet. Uh-oh. And I'm so bummed because obviously I love everyone involved. Here's what I think the problem is the formula of the emotionally unavailable woman is tired. And I'm tired of it. I think most of us women are tired of it. Where TV Scott Foley gets to be him, and that charming, lovable, crack a joke, the Bruce Willis of it all, right? And Lauren Cohen has to be this very, she won't even talk about emotions, and they constantly are joking because she can't be emotional, and she won't laugh at jokes, and and it's like, I'm tired of that. I'm so tired of that. Why can't they both be wisecracking and still get the job done and maybe have some chemistry? I don't know what it is other than that, because it's fun. It's international. They're going all over the world. But it's so much of that.
She has too much attitude.
Yes.
Sorry, that's a trigger phrase.
I'd love to hear what other people are thinking. It's a very light show, but it's tired to me. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not wanting to as much as I want to.
So my big question to you is, when was the last time you said Scott Foley's name and didn't put TVs in front of it?
Well, they started that on Undateable, in 2015? It had to be around 2015.
Okay.
So on Undateable, which was Bill Lawrence's show that you and I loved, with Chris D'Elia and
Brent
Morin and Ron Funches and Rick Glassman.
Yeah, that was a good crew.
Loved the show. And then they went to the live season. Their last season they did live, and it was hysterical, and these guys were geniuses for doing it. And TV Scott Foley would appear, and every time he showed up, they referred to him as TV Scott Foley, and so that's what I do. So
it just stuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which he was on Scrubs. He's been on every one of Bill Lawrence's shows. So
right.
It's he was on Cougar Town too. So yeah, it just stuck, and
I just think it's cute.
That's where that comes from.
I know. I just think it's cute.
So yeah, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about, Grey's Anatomy. This last episode this week. I don't know the episode number.
Keep it together.
I should look it up. So this episode was fantastic. If you don't watch Grey's Anatomy, it doesn't matter. It stands on its own. Go watch this episode. Every man, woman, child should be watching it. It addresses the topic of consent, whether that's rape or
a bad date,
or teaching your children what consent is and what it means. So it's season 15, episode 19, titled Silent All These Years. It is worth it. Everyone should see it, and good on Grey's Anatomy for, after 15 years, still being able to bring down the hammer on certain topics that need to be talked about.
Well, and kudos to ABC.
Yes.
Right, for changing their mind and going ahead and keeping...
Yeah. There's a woman who has been raped, and they have to take a rape kit on her, and ABC at first wanted them to scale back on certain things of that part of the story, and Shonda Rhimes went back and said no, and here's why, and ABC said, you're right. So yes, thank you ABC for allowing them to. And it's not,
it's not necessarily graphic. It's just
it's honest.
Yeah, it's honest.
Yeah. But there are 3 stories on the episode that all address consent, and it's worth everyone seeing. Yes. I think it should be shown in schools.
Probably.
Okay, and that's everything.
Something should be shown in schools.
All right, so now we're going to get to the Actors Corner and talk about Richard Dreyfuss, and hopefully make it through all of this. So, yes. Richard Dreyfuss, movies you love.
All right, this is a no-brainer for me. My all-time favorite movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes. No shocker there.
Yeah, I can't. A lot of movies I like. I can picture other people doing them, or in certain roles. Can't picture anybody but Richard Dreyfuss as Roy Neary. I just can't do it. Yeah. So it's perfect. It's perfection.
Yep.
The other one for me, My Life in Ruins.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He watches that movie all the time.
Yeah.
Number one, we have Nia Vardalos love for sure.
Well, she's a friend of yours.
No.
Yeah,
but she sent me a signed CD. She's not my friend. But yeah, we do love everything she's ever done. But in the same hand, when I think of that movie, it is Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Poopy for me.
Yes.
Poopy.
Isn't it always? Was that it?
Touche.
Thank you.
But yeah, for the what I love. Yes,
Okay.
I got down to those two.
I have 3. Obviously, my favorite movie of all time is Jaws.
Yep.
So that is first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Second, Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah.
Just watched it again sometime this week. It was on, and I watched that. Such a great movie. Such a great movie.
Yep.
And third is always him and Holly Hunter, and it's just
Oh, I don't think I've seen it.
you would like it. Yeah, you would like it.
Do you not like Holly Hunter? Because you seem to like an awful lot of movies with Holly Hunter in them.
So then why would you think I don't
because
like her?
I thought you told me one time you don't really care for Holly Hunter.
I don't remember saying that.
Maybe I'm confusing it with Helen Hunt, but
Helen Hunt I can't stand.
I know that, but
Okay.
I thought Holly Hunter too. But
Okay, movies
Sorry.
you like.
Jaws.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it down to 2. Jaws and Mr. Holland's Opus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know you'd seen Mr. Holland.
I've seen parts of it. You tried to get me to watch it a couple times.
Okay.
I know it's good.
Yes. So I
just
have
know it's good.
I have 3.
Okay.
What About Bob?
Yep.
Absolute classic. Can't kick Bill Murray him. Come on, please. Close Encounters and Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's Bette
one-
Midler and Nick Nolte.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And no
Yeah.
one plays that uptight yuppie in the 80s like Richard Dreyfuss did with What About Bob and Down and Out. Like it was just
Yeah.
love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, movies you hate.
I actually don't have one.
Okay.
Yeah, I went through the list, and it was a stretch for me to say I didn't like anything that he's done.
Okay.
So
I don't hate it, but it wasn't that great. Book Club, the one that came out just last year, just wasn't a good movie.
yeah,
So
I briefly contemplated W, but decided nah.
that movie was pretty entertaining.
It was entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you secretly love.
I put What About Bob in here because I don't really care for his character.
Right.
Right?
You're
But
not supposed to.
You're
yeah.
not supposed to, and he's integral to the movie because
Yes.
that's what Bill Murray plays off of. But yeah, he's pretty much a schmuck. But
it's awesome.
But it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Okay, so here I have My Life in Ruins. I don't know why I put secretly, but
Yeah.
But the next one, it is kind of a secret.
Really?
Poseidon. It's not a great movie, but I really like it for some reason.
Did not see that coming.
And his character in this one, again, it's just one of those that he elevates some things that
Sure.
maybe shouldn't be elevated. But yeah, I really enjoyed Poseidon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never saw it
Yeah.
because I decided I wasn't going to like it.
Oh, I saw it in the theater.
Wasn't it?
Give me a disaster movie. I love those. So,
So that was a remake of the Poseidon
Yes.
Adventure, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked that movie with Ernest Borgnine and
I don't know. I never saw that one.
yeah, I like I'm going to call it the original. I think that was the original.
Yeah.
I like that movie, but yeah, I just for some reason I thought, nah.
It had good, I think it was Josh Lucas was in it,
Oh.
and there were good people in it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
maybe
Embarrassed you haven't seen.
American Graffiti.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, it's been there. Well, it's been sitting there for 40 years, but yeah, I have
Okay.
not seen that, and
I actually didn't know he was in it. Okay.
yeah, it's him and Ron Howard, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew Ron Howard. I didn't realize he was in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine is The Goodbye Girl. I've seen the remake. Jeff Daniels did a remake,
Oh,
and I saw that, but I did not see his original.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
fair enough.
So adding to your watch list.
The Goodbye Girl.
Okay.
Yeah, because I saw that and I thought, oh, I keep hearing it. That's one of those movies that you just
Yeah.
know about.
Yeah.
It's hanging out there, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything I'm adding to my watch list, but I do have some honorable mentions. Stand By Me, he's the narrator in Stand By Me, which is great.
Yep.
Postcards from the Edge, he's got a small part. He's a doctor in that, which,
Oh,
again,
okay.
that's one of my top movies ever. American President, Bob Rumson.
Yes. Yes.
My
He's
name
Bob
is
Rumson, and he's running for president. Yep.
Madoff, the TV movie where he played Madoff, he did good in that. That was really good.
Okay.
And he had a sitcom on TBS a couple years ago called Your Family or Mine.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoyed that show, but it didn't last very long. But I enjoyed the show, so I just thought
I wish he had a recurring role on some sitcom, kind of like Newhart did on Big Bang Theory and something like that, where he just came back a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Would just pop in and whatever.
Yeah.
He should, is that show that the Cool Kids or whatever it is with, is it still on?
Yeah.
They should have him.
They should.
There's all kinds of older actors that they could bring on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Okay, so we covered a crap ton today.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot in this house.
That's too much information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry
about that.
We have a dog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, who started a new diet. So, yeah, that's...
Okay, now we're getting into
Oh, no.
Okay, so that was a lot this week, you guys. Thanks again for listening. Check out our website, our Etsy store, and hopefully we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
I have no clue what comes out in next week. I'm lost, but
yeah, me too.
We will be watching it.
We'll try harder, and gosh, we're sorry.
Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, bye.